Alright, picture this. You're walking up to a house on a Halloween night, and you're expecting a cute little candy corn decoration on the porch.
And boom, it lunges at you with a mouthful of fangs and a hunger for children's toes.
Yeah, or maybe it's a prop that just looks like it'll eat you.
Same difference.
Anyway, today on Carvalho Creations, I'm going to show you guys how to make your very own candy corn monster using monster mud, PVC pipe, expanding foam, and a little bit of chicken wire.
Ah, yes, the 4 food groups of Halloween prop making. Delicious.
You're not supposed to eat them, Reginald. You're literally made out of chicken wire and pool noodles.
Which makes me crunchy and flexible. Jealous?
Not even close, Reggie.
Don't you dare call me Reggie. That's what my ex used to call me when she trimmed my sideburns too short.
All right, calm down, Reginald. But seriously, Reggie just kind of rolls off the tongue.
So does vomit, especially when I spew some down the back of your neck.
Whoa, someone needs a timeout in the prop bin.
And someone needs to learn respect. I have a name. It's Reginald. Reginald. Say it with me.
Reggie.
I heard that.
Moving on. This build is perfect if you want something original, spooky, and just weird enough to make the neighbors nervous.
And if you accidentally give it life, I'll welcome him to the Creepy Prop Club. We meet on Tuesdays.
Anyway, grab your gloves and your glue guns, because I think it's time we get in that Halloween spirit, because we're about to go wild.
Let the monstrous snack begin.
Dude, it's not edible. Alright, what's up everybody? So in today's video, we're going to be revisiting one of my favorite props of all time here on the channel, and that of course is our candy corn monsters. Now in the original creation that I did, I made these super simple and it was just the body itself, and I did it this way so you guys can put them all over your yard. They're super simple to make, really easy, and they give a really cool effect once you put them out. But in today's video, I wanted to update them a little bit, so I'm going to be combining some of the techniques I used in my pumpkin guy monster mud creation from last year as well. If you guys haven't seen those videos, I'll link the originals down in the description below so you can check them out. They're really cool builds. But I'm going to be adding a body to this candy corn. So now I want to go over the design of the character before we get to the materials so you guys can kind of get an idea of where I'm going with this. So I'm going to be inverting the candy corn this time. So we're going to have the triangle portion coming down to a point on the bottom. And then I'm going to be adding a PVC skeleton to create the arms and legs for the character like we did in our pumpkin guy. And I want this guy to be a little bit more evil looking. So I'll probably add like a knife or maybe a severed head in his hand, something to give him a little bit more character, because I want these guys to be able to put out in the yard as like the invasion of candy corns in the sense, right? And I want them to have a little bit more character with arms and legs, as well as the sculpture itself. So I'll make the sculpting a little bit more detailed as well. And we're going to be using our crazy prop eyes that we've been using in our past couple videos. So if you guys haven't seen my cauldron video where I show you how to make them, I'll link that one down in the description as well. But this is going to be a really cool video. And now I want to get to the material list so you know what you're going to need to get this guy going. Now, first and foremost, we're going to be needing some chicken wire to create the structure of our candy corn. So definitely going to need some chicken wire. We're going to be using PVC pipe, like I said, for the actual skeletal structure of this guy. So we're going to be using also a heat gun to kind of manipulate that PVC pipe and get the positioning right so he has more character. We can twist his body a little bit and give him a little more to look at. We're also going to be using our monster mud and fabric to create a hard coating over that chicken wire so we can paint that guy up, and then also to wrap around the arms and legs to give him more of a stronger position. So because that monster mud is really going to tighten everything up and make him super sturdy, so he's nice and weather resistant when you put him outside, and he'll last for years to come. For our sculpture, we're going to be using our cement clay this year, because last year I used my foam clay, but like I said, those are more goofy, they're more soft, but this one I want a little bit more detail, a little more grit to him. So we're going to be using our cement clay to get that done today. We're also going to be using a small piece of plywood, because a lot of issues that you guys had in the past with these characters, especially with the pumpkin guy, was the balance was a little bit difficult to get down. And I completely understand that. I had the same issue with mine as I was making them. So to combat that a little bit, we're going to be using a small piece of plywood to make sure that this guy's nice and structurally supported. We can screw the PVC pipe down to the wood, so there shouldn't be any more issue with that. But this is going to be a really cool video. I hope you guys are super excited about this one, because this guy definitely is. But without any further ado, why don't we get in that spooky mood? Because we're about to go wild. All right, what's up everybody? To start off our armature build today, I'm just going to be taking some tin snips and a bit of chicken wire here, and I'm going to start cutting away a nice section that I can start to bend on itself and create that candy corn shape here. Now, this is all personal preference for you, but my candy corn piece here that I created was about 18 inches high by 12 inches wide at the widest point. And I'm just taking this chicken wire and kind of bending on itself. Again, use gloves. If you haven't used chicken wire before, it's very sharp and it can stab you and scratch you. So now that I have my overall shape done, I'm going to go ahead and get to my PVC here. So I'm just taking my PVC cutters and I'm going to measure out 4 lengths of PVC pipe at 18 inches, and this is going to be for my arms and legs here. So I wanted them to be the same length, so the arms are overly long so they look more creepy. I want to keep that kind of trippy looking monster look here. And now I'm just dry fitting everything into place so I know whereabouts I want this to sit. And I cut these little shoulder lengths at 6 inches for the PVC pipe here as well, just so they would stick out the edge of my chicken wire mesh here, and then I can attach the arms to that. Now, I dry fit everything at first, and now I'm going ahead, and now that I have everything cut and assembling it all, and I'm using my PVC pipe glue here to get that done. Now, I did leave an opening on the top of my candy corn so I can slide that little torso area inside and then assemble everything else. That way it's one cohesive piece and it's just a lot easier for me to do it this way. So make sure you dry fit your pieces before you actually glue everything, because once you glue it, it's almost impossible to take apart. Now that I have my body assembled, I want to start bending the PVC in place so I can get the positioning looking good here. So I measured 4 inches from the bottom and bent it about 4 inches just so I have a nice foot to screw down to my plywood base here. And because that PVC gets really hot when you're melting it, you want to use some kind of pliers just to hold that so you're not burning yourself. And here I'm just going to pre-drill some holes for the feet here, and I only use 1 screw because I'll go back in just a little bit and use some expanding foam to create a stronger base here. But I just wanted to screw these down to the plywood so I know they're nice and secure before I go on to my next step. And now that I have the body screwed down, I'm going to start bending the back of the knees for this character because I don't want him standing up perfectly straight. Just looks a little unnatural. So if you guys are working with props like this, one of the major things I try to tell people when I show them how to create something is to get a position or a posture that looks more realistic, especially for the character that you're doing. So because I bent those knees back, I wanted his torso moving forward, so I did bend it at the waist as well. And then here, that's the arm that I'm going to be having the knife inside of, so I want to make sure it's kind of raised up like he's holding it. And for the hands here, I needed something to start my sculpture with, but I didn't want to do the individual fingers like I've done in a lot of my props. Not necessary for this guy. So I'm just taking a bit of scrap chicken wire here and bending it around into the position I want for the actual hand. And then I'll be using some spray foam over the top of this so I can carve it up and start to create my armature for my fingers here. Now before we get to the actual monster mud, I'm just going to take some upholstery foam here and my spray adhesive and just get that over the body here. Now the whole premise is to create that barrier in between the chicken wire and the monster mud so it looks more realistic and you can't see the chicken wire underneath. Also too, I want to mention I did carve up that upholstery foam so it retained the shape of the candy corn so I never lose that shape during my process. And here, like I said, I'm just going to be taking some of that expanding foam and spraying it into all the chicken wire, the joints and the feet. All right, everybody, before we go on to the next step, I wanted to stop just to show you the armature and what we've done so far. Now, not only did we do the chicken wire and the PVC pipe like you saw me, I did add a little bit of upholstery foam over the top of the chicken wire, and that's because I don't want you to be able to see the chicken wire grating through the monster mud once we put it over the top. So this is going to create a little cushion and a barrier so it looks smooth and looks more like a candy corn. Also, too, I did add some spray foam into the hands here and around the feet just to give me a little bit of substance to work with so I can sculpt over the top of. Now, my idea is to have a knife in this hand and then like a little head that's going to be hanging from his other hand. So I needed some kind of curled finger. So I just duct taped the chicken wire right to the PVC pipe to create the curled wrist. And then I sprayed this spray foam over the top to give me something to carve over and then create like a little smooth structure that I can apply my cement clay to to make this little look even better. Also too, for the inside here, I cut out a little bit of chicken wire here, then put another piece that kind of gave it a concave look so I can have a mouth here that's more deep set, because the original ones, they were flat and I had sprayed the expanding foam over the top and then just carved teeth and stuff out of that. But I want this to be more of an open mouth, so I have this here as well. Now the main thing with this, when you're putting your upholstery foam over the top, if you decide to do it, make sure you stay with the shape of the candy corn so you don't lose that in the process, because then the entire character is going to look really odd and weird. Also too, I do have a little foam head that I'm spraying as well. So in my cement clay video, I show you guys how to make these as well. So I'll leave that link in the description, like I said earlier, down below, so you can make a skull so we can have a decapitated little head that he's holding to add more character to this guy. But this stage is pretty much done. I'm going to let this spray foam dry, and then I'm going to wrap everything with our monster mud, and then we'll get to the sculpt and paint. So why don't we go ahead and get to that next step. All right, to start our monster mud process off, I'm just taking handfuls of that monster mud and wiping it all around the actual upholstery foam. That way, when I get to this step of actually applying my material, it sticks and adheres a lot better to the armature, and you have less of the falling off and trying to get it to adhere to your armature. It just makes it a lot easier. Now, when I'm putting this material onto, you want to make sure you blend away those seams as much as possible so it feels like one cohesive piece. And I cut some long strips, and this is just of like an old sheet, and I went ahead and decided to wrap them around almost like vines. I feel like this is going to be a good look for this character, so to go along with this monster, I thought this is the best way to cover the arms up. And I do the same thing for the legs as well here. Now that my monster mud is dry, I let it sit for about 24 hours in 95-degree weather, so it's nice and dry. And now I'm going to be gluing my monster eyes into position here. Now, I didn't want them looking completely straight, so I went ahead and angled them a little bit just to give them more character. And now, to save on material and also to start off our sculpting, I'd like to use expanding foam on these bigger characters like this, just so I can start to set in some of the features that I can later carve up and create the look before I actually get to the sculpt. It just gives me a visual of what I'm doing before I actually get to that next step. And I wanted a knife in his hand, but that knife I had, the plastic knife I had, was a little too big. So I'm just going to be taking some 5mm craft foam here and a paint stick, and I'm going to be creating my own knife. So I'm using the paint stick as the rigid center portion of the actual knife. And I'm going to trace just a shorter version of the blade I have here onto my craft foam and carve this out just with an X-Acto knife. Now, if you guys want to see me make a video on how I make more weapons or costume accessories, please let me know down in the comment section below. Now I'm just going to hot glue these into position so everything is nice and sturdy. And I did take a razor blade too and kind of bevel that edge along the front part of the blade, just to make it look more realistic once everything is dry here as well. And before I get to my sculpture, I'm going to go ahead and just hot glue this knife into place. That way I can sculpt my fingers wrapped around the actual knife. And to create another layer of texture here for my knife and to create a little bit more realism, I'm just taking a bead of hot glue to make it look like nasty dripping blood. So this is a really good technique to use when you're trying to create things like this. Now to jump into my sculpture here, I went ahead and spritzed down my armature. It just helps for that clay to stick to your armature a lot better. And for this guy, because he was so big and I knew it was going to take a little bit of time to carve him up, I decided to put the detail in right away. So as soon as I put a layer of clay, I make sure to blend in all the edges so it sticks properly and then start to sculpt in detail right away. Now you can see me just using my finger here to blend those seams as well too, because you want that to feel like one cohesive piece. But I'm using my tool here to kind of press the clay in around the eye too, because I want those eyes to be bugged out so he looks like a psycho, like a nut job. I'm kind of going for something like a purple minion vibe, right? So in order to get that done, I wanted those eyes to be nice and bulging. So I made sure to pull that clay away from the eyeball while I was sculpting here. And again, you can take your time with this step. Just make sure you have reference pictures so you know about the features you're going for and how you want the overall sculpt to go. I didn't want a nose for this character either. I felt like the candy corn didn't need a nose for this one. It just kind of gives him this weird, creepy look with no nose as well. But I'm basically skinning over the expanding foam I had put down. That's why it's so essential, because it already gives you a visual before you actually go ahead and start your sculpture, which makes it a lot easier to sculpt. And again, I'm blending those edges where I put more clay down just to make sure everything looks like one piece. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with the teeth here, but I decided that I wanted these to be more like fangs, and then I'm going to be later painting them as individual candy corns as well, just to kind of keep the theme of this character going along the entire process. And here I make sure to add clay along the edges of the mouth so everything is blended into the surface, so when I get to the painting process, it'll hide a lot of those seams also. If you guys want to see more little crazy characters or monsters, or maybe you want your favorite holiday candy to be featured here on the channel, please let me know down in the comment section below. Also, I'll be leaving a list of all the tools and materials I used in today's video, so if you guys are curious about the exact tools, you can find them in the description down below with my Amazon affiliate link. Now for the fingers here, I'm just putting individual fingers down worth of clay right over that foam. You can see what I was doing there just to have a basis to start with. But this makes this process a lot easier. You're not sculpting an entire hand, it's just a couple fingers and knuckles. Really minimal sculpting here, but it has a great effect at the end still. And for this character too, even though I put the monster mud wrapped around, I wanted to make it feel like his toes were exposed. And I want him to have like, you know, regular, like a person's toe, just to make it feel more alive and weird looking. So I'm just sculpting in individual toes here with my sculpting tools. And again, I'll leave the link to my sculpting tools down in the description below. But they're really easy to make these as well. You can see me just punching out the actual nails there, and then a little bit of creases on top of the toes. Alright, I let that cement clay sit for another day, and now I'm spraying it just with a base coat of black so I can get to the next step and pop out the colors. Now, after this black is dry, I'll be taking an orange color as my base coat for the entire candy corn. Now, I'm not doing the arms here. I'm just going to be doing the body itself, because the arms I want to be more of a brown color. But this is going to be a nice little base to start with. And as you can see, because I put that black layer down, the color pops out completely and very quickly. And it just helps you visualize your character, so when you're doing your painting process, it doesn't have to be this overwhelming thing. If you do it in the right orders and follow the steps, it makes it a lot easier for you. Now, before I get to the details of anything, I just want to make sure I have the colors down for the candy corn so it reads as a candy corn. So I'm going ahead and taking this nice yellow color here for the top of this candy corn, and also for the teeth. And then I'll be adding the white color next. I wanted those toenails to be like a nasty yellow as well, just to go along with this character, like I said earlier. Now I'm spraying down the white here. Now again, if you guys are wondering what kind of airbrush I'm using, this is the Swallowtail Barbados Rex from the Gallery brand. If you guys want to pick up one of these of your own, I'll leave the link down in the description below. Like I said with his teeth, I wanted to go ahead and continue on with this candy corn vibe. So like some of the bags you get of candy corn, they have the all yellow just with the white tip candy pieces, and I thought this would be a perfect color to use for the actual teeth of this character. Now I'm going in with like a brown color with a little bit of red mixed in, just to deepen in all this sculpting that we had done, all the texture in this guy's face, and start to really bring him to life and pop out all the detail that we've done here. Now this is the first coat of the deeper color, and then I'll go back in with an almost black color to go ahead and deepen in the eyes and some in the mouth as well, because I want this guy to pop. And again, if you've been watching me for a while, you know I like high contrast pieces. It just helps to pop them out in that real dim light. Now I'm taking more orange just to show that these toes are exposed, basically, to make them match the body as well. But at the end, they just look so cool. This is probably one of my favorite parts of the entire build here, was these nasty, human-looking toes. And again, I'm following the same design along the hands as well, because I want them to feel like they're hands of a candy corn monster. This whole premise of this character was to create this entire vibe and to make sure he kind of fits that character the entire way through from start to finish. And now I'm just taking a little bit of silver acrylic paint and dry brushing it over the top of the knife so it feels like a blade, and then taking my brush here and doing that detailed blood, along with some blood splatter along his face and his toes and hands. But this guy's pretty much done. You guys want to see more crazy Halloween props? Make sure you're subscribed down below. But until next time, happy haunting. And there you have it. One giant-sized, grinning, possibly cursed candy corn monster, ready to haunt your lawn and confuse your dentist.
It's beautiful. I shall name him Cornelius.
You named him?
He told me his name in my dreams.
Okay, that's horrifying, but somehow not the weirdest thing you said today.
It's a gift, like your inability to cut PVC pipe straight.
Anyway, if you had fun watching this monstrosity come to life, smash that like button like it's a stale bag of candy corn.
And hit subscribe unless you want Cornelius to crawl into your pantry and judge your snack choices.
Don't forget to leave a comment and let us know what we should build next. Or just leave your favorite Halloween candy down below. Reginald's is... what is it again?
The sweet, sweet taste of fear.
Mine's Reese's, but okay.
Also valid.
Thanks for hanging out with us here at Carvalho Creations. But until next time,
keep building things.
Stay creative.
And don't forget to go wild with it.
I'm Gio.
I'm Reginald. Not Reggie.
Still feels like Reggie.
I will slap your eyes.
And I'll see you next time. Reggie, how did we get paint on the ceiling?
It was a creative choice.
Really, Reggie? Because I could have sworn I saw you earlier swinging that paintbrush around like it was a wand.
Again, creative. You're welcome. Cornelius, blink once if you're ready to engage phase 2.
If he moves, I'm burning the whole garage down.
Relax. If he moves, we ride him onto town on his shoulders and claim dominance over the snack-themed decorations.
You're not allowed to watch horror movies by yourself anymore.
Too late. I binged The Shining, Chucky, and The Great British Bake Off.
Okay, well, one of those explains a lot, and it definitely ain't Chucky.
He moved.
Nope, nope, nope. This is how it starts, man. This is how it starts.
Sleep tight, Cornelius. Soon we build you a brother.